So, kind of funny story. I have an Xbox, and I own this game on Xbox. And I was like, oh, I have this game on Xbox. I'll play it on Xbox for gold, And that's like kind of fun because it's the best version of the game. Because it has higher resolution textures. It has better draw distance than the GameCube version. I was like, oh, this is great. I'll play the Xbox version. Turns out I can't do that because when I moved, I don't think I brought the power adapter for the Xbox, so I can't plug it in. I have all the wires. Other than that, I have the controller and stuff. Can we do this thing? I don't know what I'm doing. How do you do this? You go like here. And then you say, yes, I want to enter jellyfish fields. And then you go here again. And you get pulled into jellyfish fields. Oh, no, that didn't work. Did I do something wrong? I bet I did something wrong. You get pulled into jellyfish fields while you're out of bounds. Am I doing something wrong? I must be doing something wrong. It's a bug that is commonly used in the speedrun. There we go. I got it that time. It is very useful though because it's going to let us get one of the spatulas early. Actually more than one, but one in particular that I actually like remember. I did make an attempt to learn how to speedrun this game. It's hard. It's hard. It's still something that I want to come back to because this is such a fun game. It is really like one of the better platformers from this kind of era, and for like a mascot platformer too, right? It's like that's kind of special that it actually is good. And so that spatula, usually you can't jump down there, but I was able to get it because of the bug that I did earlier. So that's pretty cool. And to be honest, I don't really remember what the speedrun does next. I know that we don't get the shiny object. Yes, I do remember what we do. We teleport to the Cowabungie, I think, because you only unlock that when you get the spatula, which is pretty cool. So you actually get to skip forward in the level. And then do we just go forward? I don't remember anything, but this is a fun game. I wanted to play it on Xbox, but I can't. But I still want to come back to this game as a speed game at some point. So I'll have to replace that wire. And then hopefully have time to learn it. But my speedrunning pursuits have been seriously inhibited by the fact that I'm doing gold every day. Because time where I would spend speedrunning, I'm doing this instead. I know how to do this. Hold on, I totally know how to do this. I've fucked it up. I don't know what I did, but I fucked it up. We gotta jump off of him, and then I'm not doing it. I'm not getting this right. There's simply no way. Yeah, there was simply no way of getting that skip. It is cool, but it's very difficult. You gotta like land on the hammer and then do a damage boost. It's not easy. Because when you do a damage boost, the amount of distance you get from the damage boost is like determined by your starting position from when you last touch the ground. So if you're like really far away from where you last touch the ground, you get a lot more momentum. So what you want to do there is like land on the hammer so that your last like standing position was further up the rock. But even if you get the damage boost, it's not over then. You've got to do a frame perfect input, which like is hard, but is pretty replicable by noobs like me by just mashing and getting it right. I actually tasked this game a little bit. They had like, at one point they had these like monthly tasking competitions, and I was like bad at it, but I was partaking. I was partaking because it was fun. And those were some of my first tasks ever. And then I was like, oh, what if I did some Brawl Minus tasks? And it's like, I don't want to. For those of you who don't know, TAS is tool assisted speedrun. So we're talking about like slowing down the game and picking the inputs frame by frame, save states and all of that. Basically creating a perfect run, but not necessarily a perfect run. That's actually what I was about to say. Was I didn't like the stress of having to make like, oh, you're supposed to like jump off the edge there or something. I didn't do it. But you can skip this cutscene. But what was it? Yeah, I didn't like the pressure of like, oh, this is like an optimized task, because it's like, oh, you've got to try so many things. It's so much more work to make like an optimal task. But you don't have to make an optimal task. You can just make like a fun task. This is one of the skips, by the way, that I am absolutely terrible at. But you're meant to damage boost across to the other side. Usually you... Oh, I did it! What the heck? Dude, I'm amazing. I seriously... I struggled with that for so long. When I was actually practicing the run, I can't believe I got that so fast. I'm pretty proud of that. But yeah, that's a kind of tricky skip to do there. It's also like basic. It's in like the baby tutorial. It's not like super difficult, but I am happy I got it, I guess. So now we got to hit these things with Patrick. You can play as Patrick, you can play as Sandy, and you can play as SpongeBob. Mainly, you'll be playing as SpongeBob. As much of the speedrun as possible is done as SpongeBob, actually, because he's generally the fastest character. For various reasons. But yeah, I mean, I played this game as a kid. I had it on the PlayStation 2. So I remember this game quite fondly, but it was just the first area. I never got like the bubble bowl or anything like that. The what's it called? The rocket thing either. I never got any of that because I didn't really understand the objective very well. So I was like, oh, I'm playing SpongeBob, and I was just like running around in Battle for Bikini Bottom, doing none of the actual missions, which I think is kind of funny. One thing I did play quite a lot as a kid is the movie game, commonly referred to in the SpongeBob community as movie. I played the movie game a lot as a kid because that game was a lot more linear, at least from my remembrance. At least from my memory, that game was a lot more linear. So I could be misremembering, but I also played that game this year, so I'm probably on the money with it. I think the reason I played that game a lot more is because it was more linear, so I was actually able to figure out what to do, which is kind of funny. There we go. But yeah, this game is cool. I don't know what just happened. I was holding the thing and it just broke. But yeah, here we're like parkouring. Holy crap, parkour civilization. We're parkouring on melons. Holy crap, melon keeper. I'm making the connection now, guys. I'm making the connection. I realize this is kind of boring though, because I'm recording the exact same stuff I did in the first video, or like in the rehydrated video. This is the same content. The only thing that's slightly different is that I had a little bit of a skip at two particular moments, which didn't exist in in the remake. The remake is way more buggy than this, but it's also less buggy. Because the thing about remake and rehydrated is like, it's less buggy because the bugs that exist in this game don't exist in that one, but it's more buggy because the bugs that do exist in that game are completely ridiculous. And I think this is a trend in modern gaming. And maybe it's a good thing. Like, it could genuinely be that it's a good thing. Buggy mess games aside, because there are some games that release and they're just buggy messes. I'm not talking about those games. Games today, they're a lot less trivial to break, usually. Usually, modern games are less trivial to break. I don't think that's a ridiculous thing to say. But usually, when you do break them, it's some pretty weird stuff. Like, Doom 2016 has some pretty like ridiculous like bugs in it. And it's usually FPS related, I think, in Doom 2016. But even in games that don't have like FPS problems specifically, usually those games get broken open, like wide open. Games from like, if you look at like Mario 64, arguably Mario 64 has been broken open, but it's also like kind of just one trick, right? And I don't mean that every like part of Mario 64 which is broken is just long backwards jump or backwards long jump. I don't know, I said LBJ instead of LBJ. Yeah, I said LBJ instead of BLJ. It's not just that backwards long jump is like the most broken thing. It's that that's the thing that makes the speedrun so fast, right? If you look at like 0 star, even 16 star, BLJ is the thing that makes those categories so fast. You take that out, the game's actually not that broken. And BLJ is just like a speed exploit. It's not like that serious of an exploit compared to some of the stuff I've seen in modern games. And this isn't always true across the board. There's some really buggy old games as well. It just seems like, I guess it's the ones we remember, right? The most memorable ones are the games which are, yeah, the more memorable ones are the games which are not broken open entirely, where they still have like some kind of meat to them. It used to be that Ocarina of Time was like a huge speedrun game in the speedrunning community. Ocarina of Time was kind of the speedrun game, up there with Mario 64. The game is not dead, but it is not so fondly remembered now by the masses, and it has significantly less players since Ace was found. And I think that's because, you know, that's the kind of bug that breaks the game open, like, entirely. There's also something to be said of, like, if we look at speedrun.com, the most popular games on speedrun.com, overwhelmingly, are games that you just click a button on and you can start speedrunning them, and it takes like 5 minutes. And you don't even need to learn any tricks for your first run. If you go into Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, with no tricks for your first run, 5 hours for Mario 64 maybe, 3 hours, let's say. Ocarina of Time could be extremely, like, longer than that. So I do think there's a part of it there where it's like, there's a part of it where, like, the popular speedruns are ones that are super duper easy to get into. Ocarina of Time has never been that. Like, not a single category of Ocarina of Time is easy to get into. Mario 64 at least has 16 star. You can learn that in an afternoon and get your first, like, pretty fast run by the end of the day, right? You can't do that with Ocarina of Time on any scale. So I think part of the reason that you know, games which are more broken open or are more like difficult to get into, I guess, that are longer is, I mean, overwhelmingly the audience for speedrunning at this point is children, and that is true because, I mean, children have all the time in the world is one of the reasons. Or one of the other reasons is the fact that God, the water's really loud here. One of the other reasons is that a lot of the most popular speed games, and the ones that you're seeing YouTube videos be made about, easy speasy, stuff like that, when I'm seeing YouTube videos made about speedrunning, very often they're like web games and flash games. I don't know if it's, you know, that's a good point. I don't know if it's that relationship where it's like, oh, these games are getting popular, or like, you know, kids are playing these games because YouTubers are making videos about them, or if it's the reverse. YouTubers are making videos about them because their audience is watching them. Their audience are the kids that are like playing these games, right? That could also be the reason, and I hadn't considered that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting seeing like the trends in speedrunning and what games are popular. Because it's hard to be into a speedrun without playing it. I mean, I love Battle for Bikini Bottom. I don't speedrun the game, and I sort of keep up with it. But even the games that I don't play anymore, which I used to, I keep up with a lot more than the games that I haven't really speedrun. And Battle for Bikini Bottom is exactly one game that I haven't really speedrun. So I don't know if anything I just said actually makes sense, or if I was kind of just saying words, because, you know, by the end of it, it kind of felt like I was just saying words, but I hope some of that made sense there. At the end of the day, nothing too important was said, certainly. Highly speculative. Yeah, see ya.